All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And Lord willing, I'll keep this stream pretty straightforward. And as you can see in the title, the end is close. Okay, the end is close. And of course, with all the things that we're seeing transpiring around the world today, all right, in light of the whole situation, over there in the East, okay, which it is something to keep your eyes on. Okay, it is something to watch because that's our job as prophets, right? As the Lord said, watch as well as pray. So the Most High could use anything as a catalyst, to further brew more events, right? More situations. And so that's why as prophets, we're supposed to watch everything. Okay. Now, as we're seeing, as the scriptures prophesy about, Yahushua mentioned, because all these things we're seeing are basically, you're seeing obviously you had the war with Russia and Ukraine. Now they're saying that this war between Israel and Hamas. But at the same time, throughout this war and these events around, you're also hearing about rumors of greater wars, right? There's talks about, oh, could this nation get involved? There's talks about, oh, could this spill or spiral into something bigger? Oh, could this happen? Those are also part of rumors of wars. But at the same time, it's not just that, because when events like this happen, they're not contained to just one part. Okay. These events, they spill over and they have effects. Because now, if you've been paying attention to the news, now they have different incidences all around the world of division. Some people are, they're like attacks on certain individuals because of their viewpoint. Okay, some people are being attacked because of their religion or their nationality based on this event that's going on over there, which, like I said, could be used as a catalyst to push other things as well. Okay, so a lot can come out of it, but we got to watch and see how it goes. And who knows, whatever angle they could push it from, we know that any news pertaining to the end time prophecy, ultimately of the nuclear destruction, okay, the war of Armageddon, any news pertaining to that, sounding even closer and closer and more prevalent, indicates to us that any preceding prophecies are even closer than we think. Okay. So whatever, however they decide to play it, we know that right at the door, if this seems close, then right at the door is the MOTB, because that's going to come in before this thing ultimately goes nuclear, right? Could they use this as a catalyst to push for things like that? To say, hey, we need to, because at the same time, on the financial side, they're moving. They're moving as this is going on, this whole war front. On the financial aspect, things are still moving, things are still happening. It doesn't just like stop. Just because one piece of news is in the media does not mean that everything else just stops or halts. Okay, so like I said, the end is close because we're living in a time now where these words that we read about in the scriptures, these prophecies, we're actually being able to see it visually. Okay, we're starting to see the major prophecies brewing all around us in the world, where we can actually correlate and say, this, you see this happening right here, this is what's spoken of over here. And Yahushua did that, right? The apostles did that. Okay, when you read in the Old Testament, if you noticed, right, when you read in the Old Testament, majority of the prophets were speaking about things that were to happen, things that the Lord showed them in a vision, things that were going to happen if Israel did this or didn't do that. But when you read in the New Testament, there are certain parts that speak about things that are going to happen, but also there's a fairly decent part that always makes reference to scriptures in the Old Testament. Okay, as it is written, such and such, boom. Yahushua even said, right, this day has this scripture been fulfilled. See, so, and that's why the back then was also referred to as the beginning of the last days, because some of these prophecies that were written of before started to come to pass. They started to be fulfilled. And so they would make reference that, hey, you remember what this prophet said about this, that, and that? Well, that's what this is what it's talking about. And we're able to do that today because we're seeing these major end time prophecies, starting to brew up, getting ready to manifest in their fullness. And we're able to say, hey, you see what this prophecy was talking about concerning this, that, and the third? Well, that's what you're seeing. This is going to lead up to that. Okay, this is a step in that direction. Or this is why that prophecy is written that way, because of X, Y, and Z. So we're actually living in that time of the transition of one age into the other. And it's going to get more and more chaotic, but through the Spirit of the Lord, we have that understanding. Okay, we know what to look out for. We know why it's happening. We know what's going to happen as a result. So we're not uncertain in our minds, but we're remaining vigilant and diligent now more than ever, because remember that there's still the famine of the word. That's still a part of prophecy. But all these things can happen just like that. So that's also something to keep in mind, which is with how close we are to the end, now is definitely not the time to waver to the left hand or the right hand. Because if you fall out of the game now, you fall out the race now, you're done. Pretty much have no time to get back in. Okay, which is why a lot of people are trying to get back in there now. So as you can see on the screen here, this was a tweet. Okay, so I just typed it in the search engine, and this is what came up, right? It says here, worldwide cautions provide U.S. citizens with general information, yada, yada, yada. Cool. This was the tweet here. Okay, the U.S. State Department issues worldwide caution travel alert, which it was put up by, let me see if I can find it again. Disclose, there we go. Let me share it again. All right, but pretty much, once again, and it's not just the U.S., right? So the U.S. put out a worldwide travel alert, whatever the case is. You also had this here, right? Once again, these were the tweets that came up. So I just type them in here to see if I can get some, maybe an article on it or something. It says Germany's foreign ministry urged German citizens to leave Lebanon on Thursday. German citizens were also urged to register their contact details on an online crisis portal and be aware of current safety advisories in the country. All right, in the country, the ministry wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay, and this is a tweet right here. All right, U.S. State Department issues worldwide caution travel alert. Okay, and then you also had this article here, which is Lebanon's Hezbollah says fires rockets at Israeli position. Okay, and it says here that we're obviously they're an Iran-backed group, but they said, right, Lebanese group Hezbollah said it fired rockets at an Israeli position in the village of Manara on Thursday and drew an Israeli artillery barrage in response. Now, keep in mind that with all of this going on, there's like two sides, right? One is saying this happened, one is saying this didn't happen. One is saying this happened this way, one is saying it didn't happen this way. Some people are believing one thing, some people are believing another thing, but it's causing division ultimately. And one thing that also makes it interesting is this is happening in the region, right? The region in which this is happening in is also a key factor, because we know that the Lord said he was going to gather the nations into this region. Okay. It's not like this is happening over there in like India somewhere. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. That's in India. We got to see if it'll come over to, to the Valley of Jehoshaphat or something like that. Okay. So now let's go through a couple of these precepts. And this is also one in Matthew 24 that we're going to keep going through. All right. Because it's also important to emphasize this point here, as we've done over and over again, right? Matthew 24:6. because the Lord prophesied about this and said, ye shall hear, right? And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. So we're hearing about wars. We're also hearing about rumors of wars, namely World War III. That's a large rumor going up in the air now. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And that's why I titled the lesson, The End is Close. Okay, it's not yet, but it's right before the end. These are signs, okay, that are taking place before the end. But keep in mind that it's not the end yet. Why did the Lord say that? Because there's still some major things that need to take place before that end. Look, those missiles are not going to fly, all right, and cause that destruction that you read about in the scriptures until the prophecies that need to take place before that happen, because that's going to be out of order. It doesn't work that way. Okay, the Most High doesn't work that way. This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, right? What manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? So with all these things happening, seeing that with each day that goes by, we get closer and closer and closer to the point where these things are actually going to be dissolved by way of those nuclear missiles, by way of those chariots of the Lord. What kind of mindset should you be in? Okay, what kind of energy or spirit should you be in? Looking for and hasting onto the coming of the day of the Lord. Why? Because we know that the Lord's return is going to be simultaneous with World War III. Because guess what? We over here prophesying, but we on this land. We know we're on the target land. That's according to the scriptures, right? Babylon is going to be hit. So if the Lord did not come at the time when those missiles start flying, what do you think is going to happen to us? The deliverer is going to need to be here in order for him to deliver us. So we look forward to we haste onto the return of Yahushua. And one thing that I'll mention too is, and I'll say this very, very briefly, I saw I started to watch the video. I think the name of the channel was GMS Contrition is Key. Okay, and the title was, I didn't get too far into it, but low one I will. It was Brothers Should Stop Seeing DTA. Okay, and like I said, I didn't see the whole thing, but I assume that it's along the lines of something I mentioned as well, which is be careful what you say in these lessons. Just recently, like the Elder Manat Zakba, I saw a video he did on this agent guy, with the different, his attire, shooting guns on the video, but then at the same time coming on the comment board trying to act as though he's connected. Okay, talking about, the camp was edifying, like that kind of thing, trying to create a link. Okay, so all these things are happening, and keep in mind, like the apostles have made mention. I remember Apostle Gabar mentioning this, that when they got arrested, I forget the exact details of the story, but when they got arrested, I think back during 9/11, around that time, when they got arrested, he said, what he said was the way they made it seem was as though, the Israelites were sort of tied in or linked in with like some Islamic-ish kind of, terroristic activity. They displayed like the Hebrew writings on the thing on the school or something, similar to as if it was like some Islamic stuff. So you got to be, we got to be very careful, in how we speak in these lessons, because all of that is also being like, now we're getting to the point where it's not just, oh, we don't agree with what you're saying. What you're saying is misinformation or disinformation. Now it's to the point where, oh, yeah, you're saying these kinds of things. Well, let's look into you. Who are you? Are you supporting this people, or are you a homeland terrorist? Or are you this? So remember, our job is to come and be objective according to the scriptures. Come and speak what the scriptures say. Okay, and that way you're gonna be innocent, because you're speaking the words of the Lord. You're speaking what the scriptures say. Remember, the scriptures tell you this is going to happen. It doesn't say I support this guy because of this, because he's going to be doing this. No, it just tells you what is going to happen and who's going to do it. So as prophets, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to tell you what the scripture says is going to happen and how it's going to happen and who's going to do it. Okay. How you feel about it, that's how you feel about it. But you want to use wisdom in how you speak, in the words that come out your mouth. And the more closely they are tied to the scriptures, the safer. Okay. So let me read this real quick. Verse 12, looking for and hasting on to the coming of the day of the Lord, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And that's going to be by way of that nuclear destruction. Okay, and that's the times we're coming into. So that's a part of the end. Okay, that's a part of the end. But at the same time, it's also a beginning. And I hope I was sharing that. So lastly, this is the book of Romans 13 and 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Okay, so just like that, like we've been saying, just like that, the Lord can spark things up, and just like that, he can speed things up. So you always have to be on top of your game, always watching, always diligent, always ready, always fervent, on high alert. So whatever happens, you know what's up. But anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.